But let's get into it. What I'm going to do is base this one on an article, put some comments in there, and then come to a few conclusions regarding this whole thing. But obviously, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. So basically, without further ado, let's go straight in. Where did it all go wrong for Andrew? A timeline of his downfall as the former Duke of York is stripped of his prince title. Okay, right. Let's go into it and I'm gonna go straight into this one, and come with a few pieces, come with a few conclusions about this. But Andrew will no longer be known as Prince, and is to leave the Royal Lodge. Buckingham Palace has confirmed. Yeah, he's going to leave the Royal Lodge, but he's going to other properties, other privileged properties. Is it Frog March, or is it that there's another property they've got that, I need to look at that. But yeah, he's not going to be going too far, okay? And he will be kept within the royal purse. So let's not get any funny ideas that he's actually a commoner, okay? But yeah, in a bombshell statement released on Thursday night, the king said his younger brother will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor with immediate effect. There you go. So the Mountbattens, obviously, yep, part of that lineage. Windsor, yep. There'll be no title as such, but again, he'll still be seen as royal and still be seen as the king's brother. So, let's put that in perspective as well, okay? The monarch has said that censures are deemed necessary amid the ongoing Jeffrey Epstein sex abuse scandal. The BDF file financer, who the former Duke of York lied about cutting ties with. That's correct. He said that he went to New York to visit him, to not do it the chicken's way, his words. But lo and behold, he retained contact afterwards. Okay, their email exchanges where he retained contact. So yes, he lied. His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles, and honours of Prince William. The palace said he'll be now known as Prince. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Mentioned the lease on his lodge. We mentioned where he's going to go. Well, okay. Interesting. The Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. That's interesting, because Andrew denied meeting with Geoffrey. Okay, so that's interesting. And yes, he was linking other women, but were they victims? We have to be real here. Have to be real here, and when they're saying victims and survivors of any form of abuse, are we saying that he therefore abused? Geoffrey? Are we saying that? Because in saying that, that's a direct link to his case, which is still kind of pending. So that in itself is kind of leaning towards the fact that he may actually be guilty. So I don't want to dwell too much on that, because I was looking to come down with this, reading this article and bringing it down. So that there is quite damning, actually. So yeah, okay. It's important to note that they're looking to maybe have further inquiries regarding him, and that is the Metropolitan Police, as well as some of the agencies in America that want to question him regarding this. So it's quite a lot there to look at. It's quite a lot there. Basically, yeah. But as it stands, yeah, he will be moved to a property on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, more than 100 miles away from his current home with Fergie in Windsor. Okay, fair enough. So that covers that. let's get down to the main parts though, which the main yeah. Let's get down to the main juicy bits. Yeah, basically in 1999, Andrew meets Epstein through Ghislaine Maxwell. Andrew was reportedly introduced to Epstein, an investment banker and hedge fund manager, in 1999. They were connected by their mutual friend and Epstein's ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite daughter of the late media tycoon Robert Maxwell. That's correct. Now, a photograph that emerged later with Maxwell when Maxwell went on trial for sex trafficking in 2021 shows her with Epstein at Balmoral Castle, the royal family's Scottish residence that year. Okay. In 2000, Epstein and Maxwell attended royal parties and were among the guests at a party in Windsor Castle. That's June 2000. And the pair were also seen with Andrew at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. And later that year, Andrew held a birthday party for Maxwell at the royal family's Sandringham estate, which Epstein also attended. There you go. In March 2001, Andrew allegedly assaults Virginia Giuffre. Okay, right. So here, obviously, during this time, Epstein was doing what he was doing. Whether Andrew was involved or not, that's unclear. But what is known is that the allegation came in March 2001, where Andrew allegedly assaults Virginia Giuffre. So the Royals' Sachs abuse accuser, Virginia Giuffre, then a teenager, we'll go on to that later and in a bit, has claimed that Andrew essayed her at Maxwell's home in Belgravia area of London in 2001. She has also said that he went on to essay her twice more at Epstein's New York home and during a OG on his private island in the Caribbean. The royal vehemently denies all allegations, as we know, because he said he didn't meet her. Okay? And on one occasion, he said that he was at the Pizza Hut in Woking, as we know. Okay. 2003, Andrew signs the lease for the Royal Lodge. That's okay. Let's go back on. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But let's get down to the main. Yep. The 2006, Epstein attends the party at Windsor Castle. He attended another party at Windsor Castle in 2006. And in 2008, Epstein was convicted in the US for procuring a minor for prohibition, as it were. We know what the term actually is. Epstein was convicted in the States in 2008 for procuring a minor for prohibition and soliciting a prohibition after pleading guilty. It came after the appearance of a 14-year-old girl to police in the state of Florida in 2005. He had essayed her. Florida officials subsequently identified 36 other girls, some just as young, whom Epstein had allegedly essayed. But as part of the controversial plea deal, which saw him convicted of only 2 crimes, he served just 13 months of an 18-month prison sentence before he was released on probation. Okay. And then in 2010, Andrew visits Epstein in New York after he was jailed for the offences. This is when Andrew alleged that he went there to end the friendship and not take the chicken's way out. His words. So, yeah, Andrew was pictured walking with him in Central Park in New York in December 2010. And the Royal has previously said he did not have any contact with the financer from the party in Windsor in July 2006 until this meeting. He later claimed the meeting was to end the friendship. Okay. 2011, the now infamous photograph of Andrew with his arm around Miss Giuffre was published by the Mail on Sunday in 2011. Uh, shows him with his arm around her midriff and he's grinning. Um, it was taken, the photo itself was taken in 2001 when Maxwell and Epstein had flown her to Maxwell's Belgravia home, allegedly, should be, for her first sexual encounter with Andrew. Okay. In June 2011, uh, Andrew quitted his trade envoy role over the Epstein controversy, and Fergie admitted to accepting the financier's money to pay off some debts. I think it was 15,000. Okay. In April 2015, Andrew was again alleged. No, 2015, he was alleged to have had sex with Miss Giuffre. She was allegedly forced to with Andrew when she was 17, which is under the state's age of consent. In the UK, it would have been legal, not in that American state, which is an important point to make because so many people got it confused. Some say that she was legal when she wasn't. The American court of law is different. 2019, Epstein was found dead in prison, but he was awaiting trial for trafficking charges. Okay. Then Andrew, later that year, 2019, agreed to be interviewed by Emily Matilis on the BBC program Newsnight, which is now seen as the infamous car crash interview, which he claims he did not have any intercourse with Miss Giuffre because he was in the Pizza Express in Woking, as I've said. And he also said that, the account of him dancing with his accuser that evening could not be incorrect because he cannot swear, as he says. And also says he has no recollection of ever meeting this lady, and categorically, I do not remember meeting her at all. Pressed repeatedly whether he was saying categorically he couldn't remember Miss Giuffre, Andrew said, "Yup." He suggested the infamous photograph of him with his arm around Miss Giuffre could be a crude forgery, saying nobody can prove whether or not that photograph has been doctored. I don't recall that photograph ever being taken. Okay. In 2019, he was sacked from royal duties. 2022, January, Andrews' attempts to throw out Giuffre's sexual abuse case was unsuccessful. This was to throw out an essay abuse civil lawsuit that she had brought against him. And in March 2022, Andrew agreed to pay $12 million to Virginia Giuffre, someone he claimed he never met. She said he essayed her when she was just 17. He strongly denies the claims. And in June 2022, that year, Maxwell was sent to prison, as we know. And recent events, April 2025, Miss Giuffre took her own life, allegedly. It was then found out in August 2025. Andrew stayed in contact with Epstein 5 years longer than he claimed. As I've said, the emails depicted that. Fergie also lied about cutting ties with Epstein. That's found out in September of this year, 2025. Yeah. And now we have the situation where this month, extracts from Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir revolve around her years spent as a sex slave to Epstein and his British Madame Maxwell. Extracts show Miss Giuffre calls the ex-duke entitled and viewed sex as his birthright. Oh dear. Oh dear. And the latest scandal, I'm not sure it's here, would be where he, yes, here it is. He allegedly told the Met to dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre. That'd be, yeah. The Mail on Sunday also reveals Andrew embroiled the Metropolitan Police and one of the late Queen's most senior aides to carry out a campaign to smear to smear his teenage sex accuser, which was at the time. So yeah. So basically, let me just go into it. The latest, obviously, issue is the fact that Andrew now has to depart and he's been stripped of his titles. So let's just go into a bit more, shall we? Right. So the photograph of Virginia Giuffre and Maxwell. True or false? His word against hers. Well, she's passed now, but it more than likely is. I think Maxwell confirmed that it was real. It's not false. So that deals with that. An interview with Mateless line about sweating and his friendship with Epstein. He retained the friendship after alleging that he went to New York to cut Epstein off. He carried on the friendship for at least 5 years later, and that was shown by emails that had been seen. He denied meeting Giuffre, as we know, which is dubious when you pay that £12 million to her, and some of her allegations are damning. So why would you pay £12 million to someone you haven't met? And the fact that now, with the statement I read earlier, the palace is saying that we stand against all forms of abuse. So that indirectly means that he may have actually done it. They're saying indirectly that he's done it. Okay. Epstein was, as we know, committed suicide, or maybe have been bumped off, simply because of not the contacts he knew. So not the high-profile contacts that he just established links with. Maybe there might have been a concern that he may have tried to bring them down, or maybe he actually may be blackmailing them or have something over them. There's also the allegation that he was linked to Mossad. So there's a lot of politics there. Okay. Now we know Giuffre ended her life. Some say she was bumped off. And actually, a little while before that happened, there was an accident, wasn't there? So if you remember. And a little while after that, she said she would not take her own life. So if anything happens, she would be, bumped off, as it were. Okay. So now her book's out, several allegations. And it's because the book's out that it's interesting that before the palace were keeping stum, now the book's out, they've acted. Hence, deranking Andrew, taking away his titles, and obviously moving him away from public life, and moving him further away from public eye in the palace as possible. But to conclude, people are saying he's now a commoner. No, he's not, because he has maids. He should be having maids there. He should be subject to the public purse. Charles is not going to cut him off like that. So yeah, people are still paying. So if he's a commoner, he's a very wealthy one. All right, take care now.